We're here with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This is Flea right here.
I have here
Anthony. And there's
John Frusciante.
Yeah. And first, let's just say, great show tonight. You guys do a lot of it. It's very improvisational. What do you have to say about that?
I was raised on jazz music because my stepdad was a jazz musician. And I was raised in a house originally where we looked down on rock music. I was kind of taught that it was not, it was music for people who didn't really care about music, and I had that attitude when I was young. Because jazz, you make it up as you go along, and you got to know all this stuff, and rock, it's just this paint by numbers thing. And of course, I was wrong because there was so much improvisation, I just didn't know about it.
Now we just automatically start every show by improvising. Like that's the first song is free form. Whatever happens, happens.
Oh, and it's also important to be able to play a really good show or to be able to play a really bad show and to never be sure what you're going to do. With us, on a great night, it could be up here, and it seems like lately, generally, it is at a high place, but when it's bad, it goes to a much lower level than it would normally go. But that's what makes it mean something when it reaches those high levels,
It's like being on a high wire, taking the chance.
It's just an element of risk.
You might fall off that high wire and feel like a pile of shit on the floor, and then 3 songs later you're like, wait a second, I don't think my neck is broken. I can still play. The business side underestimates people's ability to get turned on by improvisation or just inventing something. Like your managers might say, you got to play all of the hits tonight. That's what people want to hear. But then the true test is you see people freak out.
I think the audience knows that they're a part of it, and that's a big part of the reason why it goes over well, is because they know that their energy is feeding the music, They're a part of a unique experience that will only happen once, That's a good feeling. I think it makes them feel like the important people they are, So never underestimate, when kids come to our shows, don't underestimate their intelligence. When you assume that someone has the intelligence to rise to a high level, then they can do it.
I've just seen you guys rise steadily, and now you've come out with Stadium Arcadium. Now, a lot of people would have said, hey, double album, you're crazy. And now you got 6 Grammy nominations, and it just seems like the crowds are just better than ever. Where do you see yourself now?
We've got about 6 more months of touring with this music, but I think in some ways, because it was such a long cycle, like our brains are already starting to think about new music and writing new songs and kind of excited about starting a new cycle. There's a really special chemistry that happens, between Chad and Stan, John, and myself that, has kind of blessed us with something that does keep changing and moving and going forward and not just kind of staying the same.
Our relationships to each other change, We've gone through a huge metamorphosis that's brought us together in a really good way. For me, that's a big part of what keeps it fun on tour, is that you're really happy to see the people you're playing with every day, I feel like, this stretch of work we've been doing, I'm pretty sure it's the most grueling amount of work we've ever done. If I didn't feel like I could trust and count on these guys with my heart, then I couldn't do it.
When people think about the rock and roll life, they associate, hard partying, late nights, lots of women. Now you guys are all, just generally all the healthy things you do. I mean, your diet, your yoga, your
it's just
exercise.
We take the process seriously. What we have in front of us to do this work, we want to honor the tradition of rock music, and we want to honor our opportunity to present who we are. The rock and roll business, or even fame in general, has a tendency to keep people the same all the time. People fit into their little socket that they fit into, and they stay there. In some ways, you're scared to change, and I think it's a really healthy thing to take that tendency on, by making a conscious effort to grow. Like, one time we got off tour and I started taking math lessons. I just don't want my brain to just die.
And you've actually done a great job of sticking to your commitment. To doing that. It's hard.
To take whatever that little bit of time is every day that you can do to take a step forward as a human being, it really makes a difference.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Are you going to eat that omelet?
Oh, to ask you about the food, because you guys have a very kind of specialized food thing here. So tell me what's going on. You got...
Well, hold on. Well, here's the guy right here.
Reno.
That's the chef.
Everybody's different in this band what they eat, but the one thing that the men at this table have in common is they're looking to eat organically. Like that's kind of a common blanket consideration that we have. Everything is organic, everything is fresh. He goes out in the morning and he gets local food that's grown by like local farmers, so it's not being transported across the planet. And it's real.
Every note that we play is directly influenced by Wayne.
I wanted to mention a couple of things. You were the first use of tree-free post-consumer waste paper in a CD jacket. And I don't even know if you guys know that as a result of that, now Warner Brothers just went 30% PC. It's a huge thing in the music industry, and I think worldwide it's going to have a big effect. But if you guys hadn't started that and stuck with your guns at Warner Brothers, wouldn't have happened.
That was a win-win-win-win situation. Like right down the line, like a domino. You know, just by knowing people like you and Julia Butterfly, you know, getting the education of how easy it is to like call up, you know, the company and say, hey, we don't want to use trees for our record covers anymore.
I know that you've given many tens of thousands of dollars to an orphanage in Peru, Casa de Milagros.
We just give a percentage of our earnings to charities, and we always try to find the best ones, and it's just the right thing to do.
Having hung out with a lot of people in your business and in the movie business, you guys are about the nicest guys in your position that I've ever seen. And thank you so much for everything you do. You've been great friends to me, and I love you guys. Thanks for taking the time to do this. And if they could all just say hello to Voice Yourself.
Voice
Hi, Voice
Yourself.
Yourself.
Hello, Voice Yourself.
Thanks, guys.